something is quietly shifting for drivers over 65 in 2026. And the version of this story circulating online is so twisted that real people are making real decisions based on complete fiction. Thousands of older Americans have already started second-guessing their cars, their travel plans, and their independence, and most of it was never necessary. Underneath all that noise are 3 genuine surprises, and each one carries a real consequence if you miss it. This video is going to put all 3 in front of you, clearly and completely, so you leave here knowing exactly where you stand. Before we go any further, if you are someone who is tired of stumbling across content that scares you more than it helps you, hitting subscribe right now is the most useful thing you can do in this moment. This channel is built for people who want to stay informed and stay protected, not rattled by rumors. New content goes up regularly covering driving rules, benefit changes, and topics that directly affect your freedom and your finances. It takes 2 seconds to subscribe, and it is the difference between being one step ahead of the next wave of confusion and being swept up in the middle of it. Let us take a breath right here at the start, because everything you are about to hear has been thought through carefully. No manufactured fear, no half-truths dressed up as policy, no guesses presented as facts. The goal is simple. You deserve to understand what is real, what is noise, and what you actually need to do about it. By the time this video ends, you will have a clear picture of all 3 surprises and a practical plan for handling each one. There is also one specific angle near the end of this video that most people miss even after researching this topic thoroughly. And it is the kind of thing that only hurts you when you need it most. The worst moment to discover it is when you are already standing in the wrong place. Stay with it. Let us start at the source of all the confusion. Sometime in 2025, a wave of posts, articles, and short videos swept across social media making dramatic claims about sweeping new rules for older drivers. These posts sounded official. They cited agencies, named specific dates, and mentioned dollar amounts with the kind of confidence that makes people believe something is real. They described federal mandates that were supposedly going to force every older American into annual road tests, mandatory cognitive evaluations, and large fines for anyone who missed a deadline. And people reacted exactly the way those posts were designed to make them react, with fear. Here is what actually happened. The overwhelming majority of those posts were not based on any real policy. When investigators and fact-checking teams traced the origin of those claims, they found that many of them were generated by artificial intelligence tools designed to produce content that looks authoritative, but carries no verified substance behind it. The fear spread faster than the facts, because that is how information travels when emotion is involved. A post that threatens your independence will always move faster than a post that explains a process calmly. And the result was that millions of older adults absorbed genuinely false information and began making genuinely real decisions in response to it. That brings us to the first real surprise, and it is the one that removes the most fear immediately. There is no new federal law in 2026 that targets senior drivers as a category of people. None has been passed, none has been proposed in any meaningful legislative form, and the reason why is deeply rooted in how licensing has always worked in this country. Driver's licenses are a state function. They have always been. Each of the 50 states controls its own renewal schedules, its own testing requirements, and its own policies for when a driver may need to be evaluated beyond the standard process. The federal government cannot simply issue a nationwide command that overrides all of that without a structural change to how American transportation law works, and that change has not happened. This matters enormously because the viral posts were built on the opposite assumption. They described a central authority issuing commands that would instantly apply to every older American driver, regardless of where they lived. That framing was never accurate. Knowing it removes the foundation from almost every scary story you have read online. Your driving rights are governed by your state. That is not a loophole. That is the actual design of the system. Now here is something to hold on to as we keep going, because there is a piece of this story that does touch on something real. The false posts did not emerge entirely from nothing. They attached themselves to a genuine policy update in one specific place, and that real update was then stripped of its context and inflated into something national. We are going to come back to exactly what that real update was and what it actually means for drivers. But understanding the full picture of surprise number 3 requires building up to it. Keep that thread in the back of your mind. Are you starting to see how easily a real local policy can be reframed into a national crisis? And is it worth a moment to ask yourself what else you may have believed about this topic before today? Here is one of the most damaging myths that gained the widest traction in those viral posts. The myth says that once a driver reaches a certain age, the government has the authority to cancel their license automatically, without any specific safety concern, without a test, and without any process at all. Just a birthday. People read that version of events and reacted with genuine distress. Some began making arrangements to stop driving entirely, not because anything was wrong with their driving, but because they believed an automatic enforcement mechanism was coming for them based purely on their age. The truth is that no state in the country uses age alone as a standalone legal reason to revoke a license. Not one. What states actually build into their systems are periodic checkpoints designed to confirm that a driver is still safe on the road. A vision test at Renewal is the most common version of this. Some states require in-person renewal visits after a certain age instead of allowing online or mail-in renewal. A smaller number of states include a road test as part of renewal in specific circumstances, and those circumstances almost always involve documented safety concerns, not just a number on a birthday cake. The entire purpose of these checkpoints is to give drivers the opportunity to demonstrate that they are still capable and confident behind the wheel. You prepare, you show up, you pass, you keep driving. The distinction between a checkpoint and an automatic consequence is everything. A checkpoint gives you agency. An automatic consequence takes it away. The version that actually exists is the one that gives you agency, and that is the truth hiding underneath all the panic. Now let us talk about something else you need to hold on to, because it connects to the overlooked detail mentioned earlier. There is a specific document-related reality that affects every driver who wants to use their license to board a domestic flight, and a large number of older adults are completely unaware of it. We will get to it in full detail shortly, but before we do, let us get into the situations that are likely to feel personally familiar. If you are a driver somewhere between 65 and 75, your record is clean, and you have been driving consistently for years. These viral posts probably hit you in a way that felt unfair. You have done nothing wrong. You have given no one a reason to question your driving. And suddenly the internet is telling you that your freedom is under attack. If that is you, take a full breath. Your state's renewal process almost certainly looks nearly identical to what it did at your last renewal. The most important thing you can do is check your state's official DMV page to confirm the current requirements for your age group before your next renewal date. Not based on what a social media post told you, based on what the official page actually says. If you are an adult son or daughter watching this because your parent still drives and you are trying to figure out whether you should be worried, here is the most helpful thing you can do. Help them get accurate information instead of adding another layer of anxiety on top of what they may have already absorbed. Helping your parent look up their specific state requirements, accompanying them to an eye appointment, or helping them gather documents they might need is genuinely useful. Forwarding them a frightening post without fact-checking at first is not useful, no matter how much concern is behind it. If you are someone with a renewal date coming up in the next 6 to 12 months and you have been putting off checking what you will need, this is your moment. Not the week before your license expires. Right now. Some states require documents that take real time to locate or request replacements for, and some DMV offices have appointment calendars that are weeks out. Getting ahead of it is entirely within your control, and it costs you nothing but a few minutes today. Here are the 5 mistakes that regularly cost people stress, time, and in some cases real money, and all 5 are avoidable. The first mistake is waiting until the final weeks before a license expiration to figure out what renewal requires. There is no reason this has to happen at the last minute. Every state has its requirements listed online, and reading through them takes about 5 minutes. Doing it early means you have time to gather documents, schedule an appointment, and handle anything that comes up. Doing it late means you are scrambling under pressure that you created for yourself. The second mistake is assuming that because the last renewal was straightforward, this one will be identical. States update their processes, and those updates sometimes include new age thresholds that may apply to you now, even though they did not apply at your previous renewal. You may have crossed a milestone since then that changes whether you can renew online or must appear in person. The process that worked last time is not a guaranteed map for this time. The third mistake is never checking your driver's license for the small symbol that determines whether you can use it to board a domestic flight. Many people have held their current license for years and have never once looked for the compliance indicator in the upper portion of the card. If you plan to travel by air at any point, that symbol matters. Discovering it is missing when you are already at an airport security line is one of the more stressful discoveries a traveler can make. The time to check is now, not the morning of a trip. The fourth mistake is treating gradual vision changes as background noise that does not need professional attention. Vision can shift slowly enough that you barely notice it from day to day, while the total change over years is significant. Sensitivity to nighttime glare, difficulty making out road signs at a distance, and reduced ability to distinguish contrast in low-light conditions are all things that develop gradually and that an eye professional can often correct. If you show up to a DMV vision screening wearing a prescription that has not been updated in several years, you are adding unnecessary risk to an appointment you could have aced. The eye doctor visit belongs on your calendar well before the DMV visit. The fifth mistake is passing along unverified information about driving rules to other people in your circle. When a person you trust hands you a frightening story, it carries more weight than a post from a stranger. That borrowed credibility can lead someone you care about to make a real decision, canceling a trip, selling a vehicle, or skipping a renewal based on something that was never accurate. Taking 3 minutes to verify something on your state's official DMV page before sharing it is a genuine act of care for the people you pass it to. Now that you have those 5 mistakes clearly in mind, I want to ask you something directly. Is there anyone in your life right now who handed you the information that originally made you click on this video, and do you plan to share what you have learned here back to them? Let us move to the second real surprise, because this one is genuinely important, and it is the detail that connects to everything mentioned earlier about a document most people have never paid attention to. It is called Real ID, and it is not a new program or a new rule for 2026. The deadline for full enforcement passed in 2025. That means right now, in 2026, this is a present reality, not a future concern. Here is how it works practically. Take your driver's license out right now. Look at the upper corner on the front. If you see a star symbol, typically gold or another contrasting color, your license is already compliant. You are cleared for domestic air travel and access to certain federal facilities without needing any additional identification. If there is no star on your license, your current license will not get you through an airport security checkpoint on its own. You would need to bring a valid passport as an alternative, or you need to upgrade your license to a compliant version by visiting your state's DMV in person. That in-person visit requires a specific set of documents. You will need proof of your identity, such as a birth certificate or a valid passport. You will need proof of your social security number, which can come from your social security card or a recent tax document that includes the number. And you will need at least 2 documents proving your current residential address, things like a utility bill, a bank statement, or official correspondence from a government agency. The specific document list can vary slightly by state, so confirming the requirements on your state's DMV website before your visit means you will not have to make the trip twice. Here is a real example of how this catches people off guard. Picture a 73-year-old woman in Michigan who retired comfortably, drives every day without any issue, and has not traveled by plane since before the pandemic. Her license has been renewed since then, but she renewed by mail when that was still available, and she has never once looked for a compliance indicator on her card. Her daughter books a flight for them to attend a family reunion. They arrive at the airport together. At the security checkpoint, the agent scans the license and tells her it will not be accepted. There is no star. She does not have her passport. She watches her daughter board the flight alone. That is not a tragedy caused by bad driving. That is a gap in information that a 30-second license check at home could have prevented entirely. Let us put a number to the scale of this. Conservative estimates based on licensing data suggest that somewhere between 15 and 20% of adults over 65 who hold driver's licenses in the United States have not yet made the upgrade to a compliant version. In a group of 10 older adults you know personally, That means roughly one or two of them could be in exactly the same position as the woman in that example. The fix requires one DMV visit. It happens once, and it is entirely within your control. Now here is the payoff on that real policy update mentioned earlier, the one that the viral posts grabbed and distorted into something frightening. There is a genuine change in Illinois affecting the age at which drivers are required to take a road test as part of their license renewal. That change, taking effect in 2026, actually raises the threshold to a higher age. What that means in practice is that a group of senior drivers in Illinois, who previously would have been required to take a road test at renewal, no longer face that requirement. The policy became more lenient for older drivers in that state, not more restrictive. The viral posts took that real local update, reversed its direction, stripped it of its context, and packaged it as a national crackdown. The actual story was good news. It got turned into the opposite. The third real surprise is the one that restores the most control. Your state is the rule book that actually governs your situation, and the rules across states vary more than most people realize. Some states apply the same standard renewal process to a 70-year-old driver that they apply to a 30-year-old driver, with no additional requirements unless a specific safety concern has been documented. Others begin requiring a vision screening at a certain age threshold as part of the standard renewal process. A smaller group requires in-person renewal visits once you pass a certain age, replacing online or mail-in options that may have applied to you at younger ages. A very small number of states include road testing under specific documented circumstances. None of these are new for 2026, and none of them were created to strip people of their independence. States like Arizona and Nevada include vision-related requirements at renewal for drivers past certain ages, but do not automatically require road tests based on age alone. Pennsylvania structures renewal requirements that include vision confirmation but are widely considered manageable for drivers who stay current with their eye care. Meanwhile, several states in less densely populated areas have historically had minimal age-based requirements beyond the standard renewal cycle that applies to everyone. The variation is real, and it means the rules that apply to your neighbor in another state may look nothing like the rules that apply to you. The only way to know your real situation is to check the official DMV information for your state, filtered to the requirements that apply at your current age. That is a 5-minute task that replaces hours of anxiety. It gives you a specific list, a clear set of steps, and a date to work backward from. That is actionable. That is the opposite of what social media was offering you. Before we have covered everything you need to know, do you feel like there is someone specific in your life who needs to watch this exact video, and would it take more than 30 seconds to text it to them right now? Here is your practical action plan, laid out as steps you can take starting today. The very first thing to do is take your license out and look for the compliance symbol in the upper section. If the star is there, make a mental note and move forward. If it is not, write down upgrading your license as a near-term task and check your state DMV page this week for the exact document requirements. Give yourself at least a month of lead time before any flight you have planned, so the visit does not become a rush. After the license check, find your renewal expiration date and look up what your specific state requires at the age you are right now. A straightforward search using your state name and the phrase Senior Driver License Renewal Requirements will take you to the official state government page. Write down what it says. Find out whether you need to appear in person and what documents to bring. Do this now, not the month your license expires. Schedule an eye exam if you have not had one in the past year. Make this a calendar commitment, not a someday intention. Your eye doctor can update your prescription, screen for conditions that develop gradually with age, and provide written documentation of your vision if the DMV ever asks for it. Passing a vision test at the DMV is dramatically easier when the last person who checked your eyes was a doctor, not the back of a cereal box. If you wear corrective lenses when you drive, confirm that your prescription is current and that your license correctly reflects that you require them. This is a small administrative detail that most people never think about, but it is the kind of thing that matters if it ever comes up during a renewal or a traffic stop. Finally, take a moment to be honest with yourself about how you are doing behind the wheel. Not through the lens of fear or the lens of denial, just honestly. If there are situations where you feel less confident, like busy highway merges, nighttime driving, or unfamiliar roads, those are worth discussing with your doctor. A conversation with your physician about driving safety is not the beginning of losing your license. It is the beginning of knowing where you actually stand, and knowing where you stand is always better than not knowing. One more thing that belongs in this conversation because it is directly connected to the anxiety these viral posts created. There are people out there who use that anxiety as a tool. If you receive a phone call, a text, or an email from someone claiming to represent the DMV or any government agency telling you that your license is being suspended and that you must pay a fee immediately to stop the process, do not engage with it. Do not provide personal information. Do not call back any number they give you. Do not click any link in a text or email. Legitimate agencies communicate through official mail sent to your address. If you receive something that raises any question at all, hang up, put down the phone, and look up the official number for your state's DMV directly from the government website and call that number to verify. Scammers understand that the topic of license renewal creates real anxiety in older adults. They build their operations around that anxiety. Your best protection is knowing in advance how they operate. Here is a quick summary of everything covered today. The viral stories about a sweeping federal crackdown on senior drivers in 2026 are not based on any real policy. Driving licenses are governed by individual states, not the federal government, and no nationwide mandate targeting older drivers exists or is currently in the works. That is the first real surprise. The Real ID compliance requirement is genuinely real and is already in effect. Check your license for the star, and if it is not there, make the upgrade a priority before your next flight. That is the second real surprise. Your state has its own renewal requirements that are specific to your age and your situation, and those requirements are available on your state's official DMV page. The 5-minute check you do today is worth more than all the social media posts you could read in a month. That is the third real surprise. Here is what I want to leave you with at the close of all of this. The real danger in 2026 for drivers over 65 was never a government agency planning to take your keys. The real danger was reacting to fiction as though it were fact. People who quietly stopped planning travel or started assuming the worst were not responding to a government policy. They were responding to a manufactured story, and the cost of that was real even though the story was not. But here is the part that gives you control back completely. Everything that actually applies to you is knowable. The requirements specific to your state are written down and available for you to read. The steps you need to take are doable, and none of them require more than a few intentional hours spread across the next few weeks. Your independence is not being taken from you by a system you cannot see. It is yours to protect by staying informed. And now you are. So here is the final question to carry with you. You now know the 3 real surprises. You know the 5 mistakes to avoid, and you have a practical plan sitting right in front of you. What is the very first thing you are going to do the moment this video ends?